Hello, my name is Vanessa Nguyen, and this is my final video project. Today, I will be discussing the portrayal of the Greek myth, The Fall of Icarus, by different artists. The differences in these paintings illustrate the different techniques that were being used and developed around the world during their respective time periods. We will begin with art from the Renaissance, touch on the Baroque era, and finally end with Neoclassicism. Icarus was the son of Daedalus, the man who had created the labyrinth, which is basically a complex maze. In an attempt to escape the island of Crete, Daedalus constructed wings made of wax. Daedalus had warned Icarus to be careful. He could neither fly too close to the sea nor too close to the sun. However, despite his father's warnings, Icarus flew too close to the sun, his wings melted, and he plunged to his death. This Greek myth illustrates the danger of hubris, a word synonymous to foolish pride and overconfidence. First, we will be discussing Pieter Bruegel's piece titled Landscape with the Fall of Icarus. Bruegel was a Netherlands Renaissance artist, and this was his most famous piece. If one looks closely at the painting, one can see Icarus' legs as he is drowning in the water. However, although this painting may be about Icarus, he is not the center of the piece. William Carlos Williams is an author of a famous poem in which he infers why Icarus is not the center of Bruegel's piece. It reads as follows. According to Bruegel, when Icarus fell, it was spring. A farmer was plowing his field. The whole pageantry of the year was awake, tingling near the edge of the sea, concerned with itself, sweating in the sun that melted the wings' wax. Insignificantly off the coast, there was a splash quite unnoticed. This was Icarus drowning. Williams points out several scenes in the painting, including a man plowing and trade vessels going into the sea. Williams asserts that by incorporating Icarus as a part of the landscape instead of making him the main focus, Bruegel's message is clear. Man's death is of little importance, and life goes on. Like many other Renaissance artists, Bruegel uses oil paints because they dry slowly, allowing the artist to make many changes. Furthermore, these paints also give artists a larger color selection, which allow them to depict things more realistically and naturally, which we can see in this painting. Bruegel's art is also typical of other Renaissance art of the time because its iconography was not religious. Next, we will be looking at Jacob Peter Gouwy's piece titled The Flight of Icarus. In this piece, Gouwy paints Icarus as he falls from the sky because of his melted wings. Gouwy was a Baroque artist, so this piece is filled with exaggeration and motion. If we look closely at Icarus' face, we can see his terrified expression. If we look at Daedalus' face, we can clearly see that he is horrified and worried. Gouwy paints Icarus with his legs flying in the air and cleverly paints his body at an angle, adding a lot of motion to this piece. He makes us feel as if we are in the moment with them, and we are seeing Icarus plant face first in the water. Lastly, we will be discussing Frederick Leighton's piece titled Icarus and Daedalus. Unlike the other two pieces that have portrayed Icarus falling to his death, Leighton paints Icarus and Daedalus preparing for their flight. Daedalus can be seen adjusting the wings onto Icarus. Leighton was an English artist from the Neoclassicism era. Artists in this era stressed the importance of form, especially the male form. With this piece, Leighton stays true to the style of his era, as the main focus is on Icarus and his body. He, like many other artists of his time, focused on mythology and portrayed the male figure as heroic. If we look closely at Icarus, he stands tall and his body proportions are considered to be ideal. Furthermore, Leighton's piece is also typical of art from the Neoclassicism era because he uses strong edges. If we look closely at the cloth around the wings or his body against the background, we can see that there is a strong distinction between the two. Finally, Leighton also uses a color palette that is mainly composed of primary colors. Although all these pieces have similar iconographies and allude to the same Greek myth, they clearly have their stylistic differences. All these pieces work to show how art is a reflection of its time period. Thanks for watching my video, and here are my sources.